The future is bright indeed. We're all of us dreaming of the better days ahead, and a part of your bright new future could be a move to where the magic lives in the greater Orlando area of Florida. One of the biggest decisions you'll make when considering a move is selecting a realtor who can successfully match you with the right home in the right location at the right price. Victor Naraki is the realtor who can help you make the move you've always wanted to. Whether you're a first-time homeowner or looking to move near Disney World, Victor is in your corner. If you are looking for an experienced real estate agent covering all of Central Florida, please visit DisneyAtYourDoorstep.com today and find out just why you should work with Victor. I encourage you to create a free, no-obligation account on his website. By doing so, you'll unlock the website's full potential and be able to enter specific criteria, save listings, and browse new properties sent to your email. Visit DisneyAtYourDoorstep.com today or visit his Facebook page, Victor Naraki Realtor. And don't forget to tell him the Grand Circle Tour podcast sent you.
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Aloha, passengers. Welcome back to the Grand Circle Tour. If you're just joining us, welcome aboard. Jungle Skipper Jay here with you, and I am with my count him, number one favorite co-host, the only man who can keep this puppy on the path, Mission Commander Justin. How are you today?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you for asking.
This is our second in a Doctor Who episode. We're going week to week. And, you know, I want to thank the audience because the numbers for our first episode for Doctor Who were really, really high. So you guys have an interest, and Justin knows if you put a microphone in front of me and say, talk Doctor Who, I will not shut up.
This is his Captain America moment. He can do this all day.
I can do this all day, all night, into the next day, the next night, and the next day. I haven't even gone on my tangent why Barbara Wright's the greatest companion of all time, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll go. I'm sure we will.
Even though we're going to see her end of this season, we will get there. It's not the last we'll see of Jacqueline Pearce on the show, but it is the end of Barbara.
But yeah, so we are talking about season 2 this time, the 1964 to 1965 season. We still have William Hartnell as the first Doctor. And this is the season when we lose our initial 3 companions.
Right. This is the season, I think, where the Doctor really becomes the Doctor, because we see a huge personality shift once we change from Susan to Dickie. And then once Ian and Barbara go, he is devastated. He is truly devastated at their departure.
Yeah, and then he does kind of become a little, he does change a bit, and it's like he's not quite, I think with Ian in particular, it always seems like he's trying to prove himself in some strange way, you know, like he's better than Ian, and he is going to make sure Ian knows that.
And is it just me, or is Barbara the first shipping of the show where the Doctor is so into her but can't have her?
You know, I never quite saw that. I was always wondering if Ian and Barbara were kind of more.
Oh, they wound up together. Not aging for decades.
That was in an episode of Sarah Jane Adventures, I think is where that was mentioned.
When she met Joe Grant.
Yeah.
God, I'm a nerd.
Hey, I'm right there with you.
That's why I love you, man. You're like a brother from another geeky mother.
Oh. So we have, now one thing about this season. Now, last season we talked about how there's a lot of episodes missing. This season, there are only 2 episodes missing from the entire season. And so the BBC has come out with a Blu-ray set of the entire season 2, and doing reconstructions for those two missing episodes. So this one is a lot easier to find this entire season and to watch it all the way through.
And I think as an audience member, if you're coming into Classic Who for the first time, this is a much easier season to digest than season 1. Because we see a lot of things that are going to come back later on.
I would argue the Web Planet is probably a little difficult to get through in comparison, but the rest of them
depends on what proof alcohol you drink for watching it. Because I'm not going to lie, I have one note for the Web Planet, and that is it's trippy.
It is. That one's a little weird, but
that's my only note for that whole episode. Trippy.
But the first episode of this season, or the first story, I should say, of this season.
Right. Can I say real quick? We have 9 stories divided into 39 episodes. And like Justin said, only 2 from this season are missing.
Yeah, and that's kind of amazing considering that this is from 1964. So they have found so many of these. Yeah. It's wonderful. But I was going to say the first story here, Planet of Giants, goes back to what you were saying last week about this being almost like an anthology series.
Right.
Where in this one, they're on Earth, but they've shrunk down to like an inch high.
Right. And you know what? This is a fun one to watch because for 1964, they did great sets. They did great production value because Doctor Who, until Disney Plus, was done with no money.
Again, it was a children's educational show to start with. So yeah, it did not have much of a budget, and yet they're trying to do these wildly fantastic science fiction concepts every week.
And again, I'm going to tell the audience, look past the production value of its time. Look past the black and white. Digest the story. Digest the characters. Digest what's going on, because that is what makes it great.
Absolutely. So that one is fun. The next one then is the Dalek invasion of Earth. So we get the Daleks back right away.
We get the Daleks.
Our original bug-eyed monsters are back.
The one Sidney Newman screamed about.
No bug-eyed monsters.
The one where we learned that the British were still really mad about the Nazis. I have to say, this is... Okay, do you want to talk about Peter Cushing? Because the story itself is a cracking story. It is a great story, and it's a huge development for the Doctor himself. But we gotta talk Peter Cushing.
Yeah, but this is a good time to mention that Peter Cushing made 2 different movies where he played Doctor Who. Now, in the series, he is the Doctor. He's ultimately from the planet Gallifrey. In the movies, this is a human scientist who goes by the name of Doctor Who.
Right, who's invented a TARDIS.
Who's invented a time machine called the TARDIS. Yeah. But the first one, Doctor Who and the Daleks, is based on the Daleks from season 1. The second movie, and it's such a awkward name, Daleks Invasion Earth 2150 AD, is based on the Dalek Invasion of Earth from this season. And kind of a fun fact about that is that they, in order to get permission to do this, they agreed to let the BBC have their Daleks after filming was done. But because of all the timing of how things worked out, those showed up on screen on the BBC before the movie came out, even though they were supposed to debut in the movie.
And I love those Daleks because for the first time we get a bunch of different colors. We get just a rainbow of Daleks.
Yeah, so for anyone who complained about the rainbow-colored Daleks,
I did. The Skittles Daleks. We'll get to in like 30 weeks. I got things to say about the Skittles.
When we get there, I'm sure. But yeah, we saw several different colors of Daleks way back here. So there is precedence.
And I just want to say the Peter Cushing movies are easily available. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them on iTunes. You can rent them on iTunes. I have them both on Blu-ray.
You can find them with riff tracks as well. Yeah. I saw them on Amazon with riff tracks.
Yeah, even better. But if you watch these Peter Cushing films, go into it knowing you're not watching Doctor Who. You're watching an alternate universe Doctor Who. It's not our Doctor.
Yeah, at best, this would be a movie based on the Doctor's adventures in some sort of alternate timeline.
Did you read the Target novelization of Day of the Doctor by Stephen Moffat? I
have not.
Okay, out of all the Target books, that was the hardest one to read. I'm not kidding. It was so all over the place. It was a hard book to read. But what you find out is that the first Doctor and Peter Cushing were friends. And that's why the movies got made and they would swap clothes.
Makes as much sense as anything. And I believe you about the novel, because I think the Day of the Doctor itself was a bit scattered.
Was because a couple of years ago did. It was Rose, Day of the Doctor, and I can't remember the other two. But I bought all four, read all four, and I really struggled getting through Day of the Doctor because it was just so all over the place.
Yeah, I believe it. So, did you want to talk a little bit about the Dalek invasion of Earth before we move on to the rescue?
Oh, yes, I do. I think we get one of our best. Well, we definitely get one of the most memorable Doctor speeches of all time. Because at the end, he leaves his granddaughter on Earth to repair Earth, to have a family, to be a real person. And
she fell in love during this story, but then was kind of felt like she had to go off with her grandfather, and so he basically kind of locked the doors and said, "No, stay, be with this person that you love."
He gives the great "I will be back" speech, which I will put at the end of the episode for everyone to hear. It is one of the best speeches in all of Doctor Who, and I think it's Hartnell's defining speech. It's the one that gets used over and over and over.
Yeah, it is a great little speech, and it applies to more than just that bit of context with him leaving his granddaughter behind.
It's a great goodbye, and it's one of those things I have heard. I hate to say this, at funerals. I've heard this in the back of my head.
Sure, I can see that. But yeah, so this was the first time we have a companion of any of the companions leaving the TARDIS and going off to do their own thing. But it won't be the last, obviously. This is a show that's been going on for 60 years.
What I find funny is it's so easy for him, and we'll touch upon this later on when Ian and Barbara leave, but he is so cool about, peace out, Susan. Good luck on a damaged Earth. Whereas like with Ian and Barbara, he's truly hurt at their departure. With Susan, he gives her no choice. With the others, they're like, no, dude, we need to go home now.
Yeah. So the very next story, the rescue, they meet Vicky, and she ultimately becomes the new companion, kind of almost a replacement for Susan.
And this is where I think we see our first real personality shift in the character of the Doctor, because when Susan was around, he was a lot more protective. He was a lot more buddy-duddy. But once he gets Vicky, he's like, oh, my dear, let's go get in some trouble. He
definitely seems to take Vicky like just kind of under his wing, as it were, and says, hey, let's go have some adventures together.
And he's having a way better time with this companion he's just picked up than he ever did with his granddaughter.
You see it immediately in the next story, The Romans, when he and Vicky are basically leave Ian and Barbara behind. It's like, hey, let's go check out Rome.
When Ian and Barbara get captured as slaves and taken away, they're like, peace out, dude. We're gonna have a good time with Nero.
We're just gonna hang with Nero for a while. It's fine.
And,
what year is this again? Oh wait. Oh dear.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But you know what I love about the story is I love the historicals. I love more than any other type of story in Doctor Who where the Doctor and his friends get involved in history and accidentally make history.
Yeah.
And he accidentally causes the Great Fire of Rome in this one.
He does. This is true. You heard it here first. The Doctor is actually the responsible for the Great Fire.
Caused the burning of Rome. 1666, Pudding Lane, not his fault. That was the Pteroleptals. But this one, we can put squarely on him. Yeah. He put the idea in Nero's head. Nero's like, all right, you can live. Bye. I love this story, though. This is one of those stories. And I don't think I said this last week. I have like 5 comfort eras of Doctor Who.
I think you did. You did mention this last week.
And one of them is the black and white years, and we'll get to that in 2 weeks with Troughton. But the first 6 seasons, the first black and whites, they are magic to me. There's something so fascinating, so well done. The acting is amazing. The stories are just out there. This is a magic time. I can dip into the first Doctor's era anytime and call it comfort to.
Well, and we talked about the low budget. One part of that is that they didn't have the budget for the film to do a lot of takes. So these shows were practically live. They could maybe do like one retake once in a while, but otherwise whatever they got on film, that's what they had to work with.
We get a lot of awesome Hartnell flubs when he says things like fornication by mistake, and they leave it in. But these stories are so mind-blowing. Passengers, if you're going into season 2 for the first time, if it's past March 2023 and you picked up the Blu-rays, really sit down and just absorb this, take it in.
Yeah, these are good. So after the Romans, of course, we have the Web Planet. We already mentioned is kind of trippy.
My note is trippy, yeah.
And then we get on to the Crusade, another historical, and this is the one that has 2 of the 4 episodes missing.
Right. The first 2 episodes are done in Telesnap, which are just the photos and the original audio.
Well, it's 2 and 4 are the missing ones.
2 and 4.
1 and 3 are there,
but I gotta be honest with you, Justin, and I want the passengers to really take this to heart. If you sit down and watch any Telesnap episode, we're Disney. Use your imagination. You see the picture, you hear the sound, make it up in your head as you would the old storybooks. You'll know it's time to turn the page when Tinkerbell does her little time like this. Not like that.
Sort of. So that's another good one. And then we move on to the Space Museum, which I remember that one being a lot of fun.
I love this episode. The Doctor and his friends find copies of themselves in a museum.
Yeah, and so they kind of look around and whatnot. And that one's a fun story. I recommend checking that one out. And then we get to the chase with the Daleks return yet again. The second time this season.
If you're not tired of the Daleks yet, just wait a few weeks.
Well, the Daleks were so popular at the time.
Right.
They were just kind of this weird breakout success of the whole thing.
I think the week after next,
there's actually a documentary out there called Dalek Mania that talks about
I was just about to say, I think in like 2 weeks we should cover Dalek Mania and just what the huge impact on British culture they were, because they're still a huge British icon. Just the silhouette, the image, everyone knows what a Dalek is. It is as British as the Union flag now.
And they show up everywhere. They showed up in the Lego Batman movie.
Yeah. And I
think they're just referred to as British robots.
Well, and we have to remind you guys, Daleks are not robots. They used to be just like us. They got mutated and locked into tanks. And so they're angry and screamy Nazis who want to kill everything not like them.
This is true. They want to make the entire universe into the pure Dalek race.
Yes.
So the chase has the Daleks chasing them basically through time.
Yeah.
And it is this story, I believe, where Ian and Barbara leave. This
is where Ian and Barbara leave, and they return to 1965. And what I find fascinating is, like I said earlier, he's fine letting Susan go, but with Ian and Barbara, there's so much pain on the Doctor's face. The way Hartnell plays it, he is legitimately hurt that his companions have decided to go home.
That it's their choice to say, you know what, we've had fun, but it's done now. We have to go home.
We need to go home. We need to get back to our lives. Thank you for this adventure. And he's changed by Vicky's arrival. He's changed by Ian and Barbara's departure. This is the Doctor we're going to see, I think, going forward.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
this is the beginning of the Doctor does not like goodbyes.
Yeah, he really doesn't. But being as unimaginably old as he turns out to be, He's going to see a lot more of them.
Oh yeah.
But the next episode, the next story is the Time Meddler.
I can't wait to talk about this.
And we get another time traveler.
We get Steven.
We also get Steven, played by Peter
Purves, and he is still playing both Steven and the First Doctor on Big Finish, which we're going to go back to in this episode and come back to later in the Wilderness Years. But he is still playing this part 58 years later.
And I think, a lot of people have said that this was a good era for Doctor Who in terms of his companions. Yeah. The Doctor, Vicky, and Steven worked really well together.
I can't wait till we get the Gunslingers next week.
So we get in the Time Meddler, we get the so-called meddling monk, who turns out to be another time traveler like the Doctor with his own version of the TARDIS.
Can I go off on it, because we're running out of time? Can I go off on a bit of a rant here? A big Finish rant. This character has had so much life outside his one appearance in one story. He is now played by an actor named Rufus Hound, who's been in Modern Who, a comedian. The current take on the monk is so hilarious, and in the last few series, he has been trapped with Missy, who is, we'll get to, the female incarnation of the Master. And the way she just toys with him and plays him and tortures him is absolutely hilarious. Go to bigfinish.com right now, type in meddling monk or Missy. I have listened to these stories over.
Do they have Michelle Gomez?
Michelle Gomez is back as Missy.
As Missy, because she was fantastic. And one of my favorite episodes with her is with Missy and Clara, and the way she just kind of abuses her all the way through. So I definitely want to check this out, because I wanted a series of Missy and a companion that she gets to abuse like that.
I'll see if I can email them to you. Missy is brilliant on Big Finish, but the monk has shown up in the Third Doctor's era, the Seventh Doctor's era with Churchill. If you want fun and shenaniganery, go to bigfinish.com, type in meddling monk, and you're going to get some great stories with the great actor Rufus Hound. Like I said, I've listened to him over and over and over because this character is so enjoyable.
I definitely will have to check those out. Do we have any final thoughts? We're kind of running short on time here. Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
This season is coming to Blu-ray. I think this is an excellent jumping on point if you want to explore classic black and white Doctor Who. Get this season when it comes out in 2 months, March 2023. Again, like I said last week, this season is magic. I love this season. I really have I don't have a single bad note to say other than trippy on episode 3.
on Web Planet. I will definitely give it that. This one, I think this is a great season to start because most of it is there. You do get to see a good bit of, like you say, the First Doctor from his beginning to where he kind of evolves over the course of this season.
Yeah, we see a lot.
It is a good, and there's a lot of good stories within this.
Great stories, great character growth for the Doctor himself.
Yeah. So this is a good one to check out. Go check out the Peter Cushing films while you're at it.
You should. They are a lot of fun. Just know that you are not watching Doctor Who. You're watching the Doctor Who movies, which are not part of that universe, unless you headcanon it like I do with Moffat saying they're friends. I can't wait for next week. We get the Cybermen. We get Polly. We get Steven.
Spoilers!
I am so excited. The Gunfighters, one of my all-time favorite Doctor Who stories. I don't care how cheesy it is.
Well, we can tell that Jason is looking forward to next week's episode. We hope you are as well. So,
and Justin, if they have any questions, if they need any Doctor Who knowledge, please hit us up at Friends of Grand Circle Tour. Matt, what is our new name?
The Disney Friends of the Grand Circle Tour podcast.
Thank you. Or on Instagram or on Twitter. hit us up. Justin and I, we can talk Doctor Who all day. We will walk you through it episode by episode, year by year, story by story, character by character.
We can do what we can to point you in the direction of where you can find these to watch as well.
Yeah.
So.
Justin, thanks so much for agreeing to be my victim all year.
You're welcome.
And with that, Ken, take it away.
The Grand Circle Tour podcast is brought to you by Expedition Roasters. When you visit expeditionroasters.com, use the promo code Grand Circle Tour Podcast, that's all one word, and you'll receive 10% off of your order. If you would like to keep the adventure going after the show, be sure to like our Facebook friends page, Grand Circle Tour Magical Ticket Holders. While you're on Facebook, like our group page, Grand Circle Tours. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Grand Circle Tour Podcast, as well as Instagram GCT Podcast, and our YouTube channel, Grand Circle Tour, and on TikTok at Grand Circle Tour Podcast. That's all one word. If you would like to email us, drop us a line at gctpodcast@gmail.com. T-shirts and other fun merchandise can be found at tpublic.com. Simply search Grand Circle Tour Podcast. If you enjoyed your adventure, leave us a review on Apple Podcast. Only one rule, make it good. All logos, sounds, songs, and music that are made by and for Disney and its affiliates are owned in full by the Disney Corporation and are not, nor are they intended to be owned in any way by the Grand Circle Tour Podcast. Thank you for riding with us, and welcome home.
Where is the doctor? Speak. You are a very stupid machine.